Hi Virgo, and welcome to your April 2024 horoscope. I'm curious if you're looking forward to April. I hope you are, because it's going to be eventful. We have a solar eclipse, we have Mars conjunct Saturn, and we also have Jupiter conjunct Uranus, which, by the way, only happens once every 14 years. So let's get into more of the day-to-day breakdown for the month of April. On April 3rd, we have Venus conjunct Neptune in your 7th house. It's such a beautiful aspect to start off the month. Venus and Neptune together are representing this loving, compassionate nature, this nature of wanting to connect with others on a spiritual level, to acknowledge that we're all human, and at the end of the day, all we want is to be loved and accepted. And for you, especially Virgo, this is happening in your 7th house. So you might especially be doing that with your those closest to you. It could be a partner, but it doesn't have to. It could also be friends that you're really close to. Keep in mind that Venus conjunct Neptune can make it difficult to set boundaries. So if you have anybody close to you that you feel like can sometimes maybe take advantage of you, then maybe stay a little bit farther away from them during this day. On April 5th, Venus enters Aries, or your 8th house. And as it does that, it sextiles Pluto in your 6th house. Pluto in your 6th house is something I described extensively during the live that I did way back. And if you're curious to really learn more about that, then I'll leave the video right here so you can watch it. But on a short note, Pluto in your 6th house is teaching you to find the power in day-to-day routine, showing up for yourself, and taking care of your body, your physical health, your exercise, and your diet. Now that Venus has entered your 8th house and it's sextiling Pluto, it's almost as if all of the efforts you're putting in maintaining a good routine are giving you the energy and the mental capacity to become really close and vulnerable and nurture your close relationships with others. On April 8th, there's a new moon, or actually, I should say, a solar eclipse in your 8th house, or the sign of Aries. So because this is a new moon, that means both the sun and the moon are in the sign of Aries. And they're actually in the decan of the sun, or the decan ruled by the sun. And this leads me to believe that it might be quite easy to make decisions or actions based on our ego and not really on our true self. Keep in mind during this eclipse that also Mercury is retrograde, so things that we might say might be misinterpreted by others quite easily. And for you, Virgo, again, this is happening in your 8th house. So it's really about stepping into the vulnerability and close connection you have with others and not being afraid to show your true self, show the parts of you that are maybe sometimes not as pleasant as other parts. On April 10th, Mars is conjunct Saturn in your 7th house. Mars wants to set up a date. Mars wants to buy a gift for your loved one. But Saturn is saying, whoa, hold up. Actually, the store is closed. Or actually, the movie theater is being torn down. So it might not feel very fun, and I'm sorry for laughing. I really shouldn't. But Saturn might be indeed on this day putting a halt through some of the actions you want to take in your relationships, buying gifts, setting up dates, whatever it may be. Maybe having a chat, a meaningful, deep chat. Keep in mind that Saturn puts a wall in front of you, but it doesn't say you cannot get to your final destination. You can still do it. You might just need to adjust course, move around the wall, and get to that final destination in a different way. On April 17th, Venus conjuncts the North Node in your 8th house. Because this is almost around the same spot that we had the eclipse, in the same house that we had the eclipse. I do see this as a less emotionally charged day to reflect on the eclipse. What happened? What did you learn? In what ways did you act that you wish was maybe different? Or what things are you proud of with how you dealt with the eclipse? On April 20th, we reach the big event, which is Jupiter conjunct Uranus. For you, Virgo, this is happening in your 9th house. Good to keep in mind is that during the conjunction, the Sun enters Taurus, which is also your 9th house. And at the same time, while Jupiter and Uranus are conjunct, they sextile Mars in your 7th house. So Jupiter and Uranus are conjunct once every 14 years. So this is a big deal. Jupiter has been in your 9th house for a year now. Perhaps it's making it super easy for you to travel. Perhaps it's making you fly by through school with all A's. But at the same time, Uranus has also been in your 9th house. And what Uranus can bring is the highest highs and the lowest of lows. It might really bring you these moments where, you get like a long flight ticket to Asia for free. But it also might bring the lowest moments where, you're stranded somewhere and you're not able to get home. And the way I like to think of the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction is they're sitting down for coffee and they're each sharing their experience and their learning points as they've been traveling through Taurus, or for you, your 9th house. And I do think that during this conjunction, and because they're having a conversation together, there might be some realizations or epiphanies that come to you about themes relating to your 8th house. That all of a sudden you realize what you find important when you travel. Or all of a sudden you have epiphanies about your education and maybe you want to steer and go somewhere else. Or it could be in a more abstract way. The 9th house also represents belief systems. So it's also possible that there's an epiphany that you have about one of your values and you realize, wow, that's actually not my core value in my life anymore. That's not true. And that's something that I really want to adjust. Just a day later, on April 21st, the Sun moves a little bit closer into Taurus, like an extra degree closer into Taurus, and squares Pluto in your 6th house. Because this is a square, I do almost see this as butting heads a little bit. Perhaps something that you've done with your day-to-day routine is making it difficult for you to travel, or is making it difficult for you to show up as your best self when it comes to your classes and the courses that you're taking. But again, on a more abstract level, it could be that these new values that you're creating for yourself, you all of a sudden realize, wait a second, my routine doesn't match that anymore. There's a disconnect there, and there needs to be an adjustment made. On April 24th, there's a full moon in Scorpio in your 3rd house. Full moon means that the Sun and the Moon are on opposite ends. So the Moon is in Scorpio in your 3rd house, and the Sun is in Taurus in your 9th house. A full moon can bring insights into our life because it shines a light on things that may have been hidden or underneath the surface. And for you specifically, you might start realizing some things about your local environment. You might start realizing that actually I do really love where I live, and actually I do want to be closer to my neighbors and my siblings. Or perhaps this full moon is revealing something about the way you communicate to others, and perhaps you realize that, hey, actually I tend to communicate quite defensively a lot of the times. And then you're given the opportunity to sort of analyze where it's coming from and adjust if you want to. On April 28th, Mars conjuncts Neptune in your 7th house. This is such a beautiful aspect to have in your 7th house, Virgo. It shows that you are taking some actions on this day to give you and your partner a deeper, more meaningful moment of connection. And with Neptune, it's really about this lofty ideal of connection, this lofty ideal that you are one, that the way you treat them is actually the way you treat yourself. So enjoy this day and see if you can plan something fun and something beautiful and meaningful for you and your loved one. We close off the month with both Venus and Mars going back to their homes. So on April 30th, Venus enters Taurus and Mars enters Aries. After the craziness of April, I think this is going to feel really wonderful. Venus and Mars are coming back to where they feel comfortable. They're able to express themselves again in a way that feels more natural. And you'll probably feel this as well. You'll probably feel like, okay, you can start expressing how you're feeling, both anger as well as more pleasant, happy thoughts and feelings. You're able to express them more naturally and more in a state of flow and ease as well. So overall, Virgo, a really interesting month for you. A lot of focus on your relationships. And if you're somebody that's not in a partnership, again, this could be focusing on the really close friendships that you have, or maybe even business partners, for example. So I hope you enjoy it. And let me know down below, are you going to plan something fun and something meaningful for you and your loved one? And if so, what are you going to do? I'd love to know. Thank you for joining me for this horoscope. And if you want to make sure you catch the May horoscope as well, then make sure you subscribe. I hope to see you again soon.